Welcome back to Inside City Hall. This week, we're taking a look at Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's rapid rise to power in Washington, D.C. Today, we take you to her upstate district, where many constituents say that she has changed, but they disagree on what exactly that means. Our Kevin Frey joins us now with more. Good evening, Kevin.
Yeah, good evening, Earl. I spent a few days on the road going across that district, which spans really the northern portion of New York, from Watertown all the way over to the outskirts of Albany, talking to their voters, just getting a sense of what the feel is on the ground. This is a very rural district, a very geographically diverse district. Here's some of what I found. There's no shortage of sights and sounds at the Franklin County Fair, from the rides to the livestock competitions. Beef farmer Jack Tierney has lived in the town of Malone near the Canadian border since the 1970s and has high praise for his congresswoman.
I think Congresswoman Stefanik is fantastic. I could use 10 more just like her.
But he was not always so eager to offer a ringing endorsement, especially when she was first elected.
I can remember calling her office and saying, we don't need a Republican that's going to act like a Democrat. We need a true conservative, and we don't need wishy-washy or rhino Republicans.
One of the reasons he likes Representative Elise Stefanik now, he says, her willingness to defend former President Donald Trump. When Trump first became a candidate, Stefanik kept her distance. She now is one of his staunchest advocates in Congress. She proudly calls herself Ultra MAGA. Other voters have noted an evolution, too, like St. Lawrence County farmer Russ Finley.
There you go.
In 2018, he launched a quixotic primary challenge against Stefanik, labeling her a Republican in name only. Now, he's a believer.
Over the course of time, she had the chance to evolve to the more conservative position that she's in now, and stronger position.
Would you describe her as a rhino anymore?
No. Once President Trump got in, it really opened people's eyes to say we need a fighter.
Stefanik's turn toward Trumpism mirrors the evolution of her North Country district. In the 5 years before Stefanik was elected in 2014, Democrat Bill Owens was the congressman here. Counties like St. Lawrence and Franklin voted for Barack Obama in 2012, then swung dramatically to Trump in 2016 and 2020, part of a tectonic shift of voters in largely white, rural areas across the country.
I think it shows that President Trump and the Make America Great movement has really expanded today's Republican Party. People who felt that they've been left behind by the status quo in Washington.
The massive, newly drawn 21st District stretches from the outskirts of Albany, across the Adirondacks, edging along Vermont and Canada. I spoke with voters in communities from Ogdensburg to Saranac Lake and Malone to Cobleskill. Stefanik is popular here.
Elise is someone we can trust and someone that we can rely on.
I like the freedoms that she stands for. I like that she's not overbearing.
Traveling across the district, I found many Stefanik detractors as well, who were not shy about sharing their opinions. Many of them arguing that, yes, she has changed, but not for the better. Take Christine Leo, who I met over eggs and toast in Messina. A Democrat, Leo says she once voted for Stefanik.
I did like her in the beginning, but when Trump became president, she became such a Trump follower that she acts like him now. And it kind of turned me off her.
Others see Stefanik as putting her pursuit of power first and foremost.
When the Republican Party was more of a governing party, she was part of that. And that now has become more of an authoritarian party, she's part of that.
I think she's more interested in the power that she can get and moving up in the Republican Party than she is representing the people.
Asked what she's accomplished in Congress, Stefanik cites her work securing funding for rural hospitals in Fort Drum, pushing to reopen the northern border as the pandemic eased, and updating the North American Free Trade Agreement. In Washington, though, it's her political moves that have people talking. Last year, Republican House members voted to replace Congresswoman Liz Cheney with Stefanik as GOP conference chair, in part because of her allegiance to Trump. Her new role will boost her clout in the House if Republicans regain the majority in November. Asked if they think she's evolved, her Republican colleagues on Capitol Hill say she's reflecting her voters.
We have to represent our constituents' viewpoints and values, and that's what she's doing, that's what I'm doing.
This is how Stefanik answers the question.
Do you think you've changed at all?
No, I've been a hardworking, strong conservative voice since I ran for office. I've always strived to give this district a seat at the table at the highest levels, and I'm going to continue doing that, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
Many voters here seem fine with Stefanik's new role as a fierce Trump warrior. Political handicappers rate her a solid favorite to win re-election.
So as you can see, Errol, Stefanik rather defiant there in response to that question as to whether or not she has changed, even though you're hearing from both her supporters and detractors that they believe they have seen some form of evolution, depending on what word they want to use, a change and evolution, in her over the past 7 years as she has really climbed through the ranks here in Washington.
So, Kevin, it's really interesting to see people say, look, she's conservative, she's solid Republican, she's pro-Trump. They're conflating those three things. Those three things are not necessarily the same, though, are they?
Well, I mean, look, yesterday we learned, as you saw in the piece, that she has one of the lowest voting records in compliance with Trump, basically aligning with him, about 78% compared to other members of the Republican Party who are much more aligned with him on the policy front, voting with him 100% of the time, 90+% of the time. She's really on the bottom rank when it comes to voting with him when he was in office. But nonetheless, from the outside political persuasion, from the talking points, from the just general embrace of him as a matter of political will as opposed to policy, she's very much in tandem.
Okay. Thanks very much, Kevin. Great reporting.